Okay, right. So, good morning, right? I mean, after the new year, I think people are still celebrating or returning from their holidays, but you are here, and today we are going to sort of take a big step in the sort of our journey to cover the syllabus, right? I think we are starting this lesson earliest. After the speed we went through the syllabus, and we also started a bit late, and also we had exams in the middle, and we did practical seminars, and everything that we have done, we have gone at that speed, and we have arrived at this lesson at the middle of, in the middle of April. Okay, so that's because this lesson is the giant, right? I said so in my video and everything. I have been saying this lesson is the giant, right? Two essay questions, ne? Two essay questions, at least 6 to 7 MCQs, ne? At least 6 to 7 MCQs, 7 to 8 pennat pulo, right? And a full structured essay question from this lesson, right? Two essays are there. So හත් කීයක්ද essays ලියන්න ඕනේ? හතරයි. හතරෙන් දෙකක් animal form definitely. Right? So the other essays are, you know by now, second lesson, third lesson, second lesson, fourth lesson, and the fifth lesson, two essays. That's the essay structure. But now with the current trend, what have you seen? The first essay, අපි කියන්නේ second lesson එකෙන් අහනවා කියන essay එක. It's not going to be a purely second essay anymore. Ne? Have you seen that? It's been a mixture. Second lesson and maybe molecular. Yeah? That's how they are sort of mixing it up. So the second lesson value is gradually going down, but definitely the animal form and function question weight is going to be constant. Okay? Animal form and function question weight is going to be constant. And at the same time, plant form weight is going to remain the same, because those are the two main subjects, no? Right? Botany and zoology. Biology, main bulk, wherever you go after A levels, as your sort of undergraduate studies, it's going to mainly concern those two fields, no? Yeah? Whatever sort of a science field, medicine, veterinary, dental, wherever you go, and the newly increasing sort of weight is from molecular and microbiology, right? So, as I am saying, we have to take a good start to this lesson. That's why I'm starting early, and as a fresh start, we are starting, right? So today, the plan is like this. We have a sort of a special, we have a special sort of a seminar worksheet that we are going to completely fill with a short note, okay? And at the end, I'm going to project a paper. Half an hour paper on the screen, okay, not half an hour, 20 minutes, and per MCQ I'm only going to give 40 seconds, okay, 40-second MCQs. We are going to do it as in university we have something called as a objective structured exams, OSP scale, objective structured sort of practical examination, but here I'm going to project the questions with a time, and then we are going to mark them. They are going to be only from what we cover today, tissues. Okay, few structured essay questions and about 10 MCQs. Got it? Okay, so that's the plan. Fresh memory again, we are going to do questions and go home. Within one day, tissues covered. Okay, clear? Nothing much to, to elaborate about tissues, but a lot of question weight is there. Yeah, for online people, I'll send the PDF. Hold on. Online people, can you hear me? All good? Good morning. So there's going to be a main tute, of course. There's going to be a main tute. As usual, one diagram one and one question one. From animal form and function, there's going to be three main tutes, right? For the lesson, there's going to be three main tutes. I'm going to be breaking up the lesson into three parts, okay? So the first tute is going to cover tissues, digestion, circulation, and respiratory system. Then the second one is going to cover immunity, excretion, and nervous system. Then the final one is going to be endocrine, reproduction, support, and movement. Okay, those are the sections. 3 parts. So you can see this single lesson is like 3 lessons of plant form or even evolution. Evolution is smaller, no? Right? 3 lessons of plant form again, this one lesson. Okay, so it's a big lesson. No nonsense. I mean, only what you need to, I mean, I can easily get out of syllabus and tell you sort of additional things and extra things because it's my sort of area of expertise and everything, no? Animal form, but it doesn't matter, right? At the end, I want to give you the maximum syllabus coverage as well as what's there in your resource, right? So I'm going to use some additional things just to help you understand, but that's it, okay? So okay, yeah, online people, the tutor is available in the chat. Okay, Zoom chat එකේ තියෙනවා. Please download it. Let me know if any issues with opening it. Okay, right. Okay, shall we start? So you know, then if you can remember early, when you are studying order and organization, මතකනේ චූටි කාලේ, right? Introduction to biology, order and organization. What are the orders that we started? We started at the biological molecule level. Biological molecules got together to form organelles. Organelles got together to form cells. Cells get together to form tissues. Okay, so that's why it's like we are going in that order. We are going in that order. Tissues form organs, organs form organ systems form one complete organism. Okay, so we are going to study about the tissues today, right, and with some attention to the sort of their individual functions, and then we are going to move on to individual organ systems. So when we are studying individual organ system, we are going to study about individual organs as well. Then if you take the digestive system, there's individual sections for the stomach, for the small intestine, large intestine, liver, pancreas, different organ systems we are going to study, and at the end we are going to see how all the organs get together to form one functioning organ system. At the end, you are going to have a complete organism. Okay, ready? Yeah? Clear? Right. So tissues, as you know, in kingdom Animalia, animal form ne padankan. Kingdom Animalia, they are all multicellular, yeah, multicellular and eukaryotic. So all of them have complex tissue structure. Okay, so tissues, there's going to be a classification that you need to know, right? There's going to be a classification you need to know, because today we are going to study, I mean wherever you go, there's only 4 classification, 4 divisions of the tissues, right? There's only 4 types of tissues that you need to know that we are going to cover today. Okay, what are the 4 types? Are they happy? Plant tissues ගැන කතා කරා වගේ තමයි. There's a outer layers, there are outer layer tissues, then there are inside there are transport tissues, then everything is supported by certain supportive structures, yeah, and in the middle there are some filling tissues, right? In the middle there are some filling tissues. Plant එකක වගේම තමයි, but we are a bit more complicated in the sense of animal tissues. Okay, right? So what are the 4 types of tissues you need to know? There's epithelial, okay, connective, muscle, and nervous. Or tissues atarati. Got it? Clear? So all these are having their own significant, sort of characteristics. We are going to individually study their sort of common functions, as well as we are going to subdivide them into several categories, several types, and then we are going to study them individually, right? So අපි epithelial එකට එමු and under each we are going to, I mean, I'll give you a sort of a rough overview first, right? Epithelial you can classify as simple, okay, and compound epithelia. Simple epithelia and compound epithelia. Connective you have several. You have loose connective tissue. Okay, then you have dense connective tissue. Then you have adipose, අපේ fat layer එක හරිද? Adipose. Then you have cartilage, bone, and what else? Connective tissue, one other. What is the remaining one? Someone very special. Connective. Yeah, something that connects your internal environment. Blood tissue. හරිද? Muscle tissue ඉතින් චූටි O level කාලේ ඉඳලා දන්නවන්නේ. දැස් මොනවද තුන? Smooth, skeletal, cardiac නේ. Nervous tissue, we don't go into that much detail. Okay, we are going to study mainly about the neurons, right? So those are the main nerve cells, and අපේ neurons වල sort of assistance එකට ඉන්නවා පොඩි sort of neuron supportive cells. Those are called glial cells. Those are the main sort of subdivisions of cell types that we are going to study today. Okay, මේ ඔක්කොගෙම individual features that we are going to list out, we are going to write down here. Okay, then we are going to do questions. That's the basic plan. Got it? Okay, all right. So as usual, normal procedure එක යන්නේ resource book එක කියවනවා, we make a short note. Okay, that's how it's going to go. Got it? Okay, so take out the resource book, page number 156. Page number 156. Okay. Kiyo. So there's a recall කියලා කතාවක් තියෙනවා. A tissue is a group of one or more cell types which carries out specialized function or functions. Yeah. කොහෙද මේ page 106 කියලා කියන්නේ? Where is this page 106 that they are referring to? Where is that? That's in plant form, ne? That's in plant form. So what is the definition that you found there? Page 106. Utani liya ganda. That's the same, right? Exact same thing is given. Tissue is a group of one or more cell types which carries out specialized function or functions, right? Same thing. So highlight that. Got it? Highlight the definition of a tissue. Very commonly questioned in structure essay. Okay, highlight that. There are four major types of animal tissues: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. Okay. Alright, so without further ado, අපි ටක් ගාලමු epithelial tissues. Right? So this is the sort of the rough overview of everything we are going to study today. Okay, so let me know. I'll use a software now and then and show you some real slides as well, so that online people even in there නැති වෙන විදිහට. Okay, all right. So නැත්නම් අවුරුදු කාලා your adipose tissue might have increased a bit, but මේක තමයි අන්තර වැඩි වෙන්න ඕනේ මෙන්න මෙයා. Nervous tissue, right? Okay, nervous tissue එකකටත් වඩා you will understand around the nervous tissue, this erase karpu glial tissue is important to sort of make this nervous tissue more efficient. May neurons efficiently run karanna, you need the supportive glial cells. Okay, so these supportive cells are like the neurons are sort of the, let's say, if the neurons are the engine, then glial cells are the petrol and the engine oil and everything that makes it running smoothly. So then අවුරුදු කාල adipose වැඩි වුණාට, adipose, when you have more and more adipose tissue, it's going to make you even more and more lazy, because I'll tell you, adipose tissue is able to do so many negative things. When you have a lot of body fat, it is going to increase susceptibility of getting diabetes, and it's going to make you even lazier, right? It's going to, when you have more adipose, it's negative, right? So we'll talk about those as we are moving along, right? So epithelial tissue. Epithelia, then I'm going to relate it to a bit of plant form always, right? So epithelial tissue is like your covering, or the sort of outer layer of everything. Okay, epithelial tissue. We need a sort of covering at all surfaces, right? Mainly to provide protection, right? If you take a look at your body, what are the types of surfaces that you have? What are the types of surfaces that you have? You have outer surfaces, ne? Outer surfaces, then you have inner surface, no? Because we are a hollow organism at the end. There are so many empty spaces, no? If you take from starting from your mouth to the anus, it's a complete hollow tube, no? Right? So there on that is called as an internal surface. So the digestive system, entire digestive system is covered by a type of tissue in its internal surface. Got it? So that's a surface as well. There you have epithelial tissue. Got it? Then what else? If you take the respiratory system, it is completely covered with a covering, that is the respiratory epithelium. Yeah. So many. If you take the kidney, there's inner tube system. Yeah. If you take your urethra, if you take your bladder, everywhere you have internal surface or an external surface, you are going to have epithelial tissue. Okay. So it covers external and internal free surfaces and organs. Highlight. Okay. That is one of the basic features that you have to be able to describe about epithelial tissues. Covers external and internal free surfaces and organs. Okay. There's a list of characters. I'll write. Let's first read that. Cells are closely packed. Highlight it and put number 1. Then highlight kalla number 1 then. Cells are closely packed. Okay. Online people, highlight the resource book. Okay. The tut is available in the chat. Okay. Cells have both apical and basal surfaces. That is the character number 2. I'll explain all these, okay? Then apical surface remains free and the basal surface is attached to the basement membrane. That is feature number 3 and 4. Apical free, basal attached to basement membrane. No blood vessels, 5. That is the 5th feature. Tissue gets nutrients and oxygen from underneath the connective tissue. Yating tamai nutrients again. Got it? So if you take a basic epithelial tissue, it's like this. Okay. There's a basement membrane. There's a basement membrane to which all epithelia are attached. Okay. Usually it's mainly collagenous, composed of collagen. This is the basement membrane. On the basement membrane, you are going to have what? tightly packed cells. Then I'm going to recall all other knowledge. Then can someone tell me what sort of a cell junction you might find in between these epithelial cells? Mono cell junction. So they say it's tightly packed. Then if you take a tightly packed cell or a tissue, what sort of junctions can be present between these two cells? Imagine my skin again. What sort of a cell junction can you find? Tightly, if you're tightly connected, without allowing anything to go through. Okay. Tight junction, no? Tight junction connecting the plasma membranes together. Yeah, tight junction connecting the plasma membrane together, forming a waterproof, water preventing leakage of fluid. Ne? Tight junction. Right. So closely packed, no blood supply. There's no blood supply into this tissue. Okay, there's no blood supply into this tissue. So the blood supply is going to be from blood vessels that are going beneath the tissue. Tissue eකට යටින් යනවා blood vessels that are going to give nourishment through this basement membrane. Okay, that are going to give nourishment through this basement membrane into the epithelial tissue. Okay, so what is going to happen? The oxygen supply as well as the waste material such as carbon dioxide and also the other sort of metabolic wastes are going to be exchanged through the basement membrane. Okay, so you can say this is the epithelial tissue. මේ යටින් ඉන්නේ කවුද එතකොට? මේ යටින් ඉන්නේ usually the connective tissue. Okay, usually it's a connective tissue that is underneath. Usually it's a connective tissue that is running underneath the epithelial tissue. So always remember those features of the epithelial tissue. What? Tightly packed. What else? This is the apical surface. Apical surface is always facing internal or external free. So it's lining internal and external free surfaces. So this is the external exposed surface, apical surface. This is the basal surface, which is attached to the basement membrane. So අපි ටක් ගාලා labeling එකක් දාමු. This is the basement membrane. Okay, this is the basement membrane. That's it. Okay, these are blood vessels. Okay, this is the basic plan of a epithelial tissue. Okay, right. මෙතන space එක manage කරන්න ඕනේ. Okay, right. මුලින්ම අපි පටන් ගමු. Right, උඩින්ම above the epithelial tissue there is some space, no? එතන write down the definition of tissues. Online people, can you see? Write down the definition of tissues. What is the definition of tissues? Yeah? A tissue is a group of one or more cell types which carries out specialized function or functions. Try to memorize it right now. A tissue is a group of one or more cell types which carries out specialized function or functions. Right. Then epithelial tissue. Okay. Epithelial tissue. No need to draw this. Let's list down characteristics of epithelial tissue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 කියලා දාලා ලියමු. Okay. Under epithelial tissue, for the manage කරන space එක we have to do a classification of epithelial tissue as well. පොඩ පැත්තට වෙන්න side එකට වෙන්න ලියන්න. The 5 features of epithelial tissue. Yeah. Cells are closely packed. First one, write down. Okay. Cells are closely packed. Cells have both apical and basal surfaces. Cells have both apical and basal surfaces. Cells have both apical and basal surfaces. Apical කියන එක රැටින් ඔම arrow එකක් ගහලා ලියන්න remains free. Apical surface remains free. Apical surface remains free. Basal surface arrow එකක් දාලා ලියන්න attached to basement membrane. Basal surface attached to basement membrane. Attached to basement membrane. Next feature, no blood vessels. No blood vessels. Last one, gets nutrients and oxygen from underneath connective tissue. From the underneath connective tissue. From the underneath connective tissue. Okay. So you might have seen this. Then imagine you had a small abrasion. Your skin, you can see certain white powder. If your skin is dry, a white powder sort of powdery thing is coming out, but it takes, a much deeper cut to bring blood. Lane, you need to have much of a sort of a deep abrasion, deeper cut, more damage. That is because the outer epithelial, that is the skin surface itself, doesn't have a blood supply. Okay, there's no blood supply. If it had a blood supply, you will understand one of the main functions of the epithelial tissue is protection. If it has a blood supply, then the protect because like if the blood supply the blood supply is damaged, that's a problem. Blood is going out, and through the exposed blood vessel you can get other bacteria and aroma into the bloodstream, right? So that's why we have prevented the connective tissue from getting any blood supply, yeah, because it is the protector, right? So those are the features. Very commonly they will ask you to list down these things, so that's why we wrote it. Okay. Then before going to a bit of classification, there's in the resource there's 3 main functions of epithelial tissue given. Got it? 3 main functions of epithelial tissues are given. First one, protection. Highlight that, protection. Barrier against mechanical injury, pathogens, fluid loss. ඔය තුනට numbers තුනක් දාන්න. Mechanical injury, pathogens, fluid loss. Protection is of 3 types. Got it? Okay. Then secretion. Wherever we have a surface that is doing a secretion, so the surface is an epithelium, right? A surface is an epithelium. If you take your respiratory epithelium or your reproductive system, wherever you have mucus that is secreted by a certain surface cell. Mucus, what else? Sweat, of course. In the skin, you have modified sweat glands. enzymes in your digestive system, yeah, then hormones in sort of if you take the stomach lining, the lining of the stomach has certain modified epithelial cells that can secrete hormones. If you take the thyroid gland, thyroid sort of gland is made of type of epithelial cells. Okay, so those are involved in hormonal secretion as well. Okay, so those are the secretory functions. Then again, if you have a surface, that surface should be able to do a bit of absorption as well. Absorption, because this is the sort of the barrier. Through this, you should be able to absorb things, take into the body, mainly nutrients. Okay, absorption, protection, secretion, absorption. Those are the main functions, right? Then if you take some additional examples for certain functions, in certain parts of the body, you can have ciliated epithelia. Remember cilia thina on the surface, right? If you take this, the page number 1, the sort of the bottom diagram, can you see C akurak gala thina? C for cilia kiyala. So that is a type of ciliated epithelia. Okay, so you know the functions of cilia, ne? Mehema cilia, they nicely sort of wave-like motions, ne? So through that they can sweep things, they can move things over the surface, right? Airport එකේ තියෙන මෙහෙම අර නිකන් ඉක්මනට යන මේකක් තියෙන්නේ, right? When you step onto it, you can go faster. There's a sort of a escalator, but it's flat, no? අනේ වගේ, right? This epithelium can sweep things over the surface. What else? Some more specialized epithelia. For example, in your tongue, you have modified epithelial cells that are detecting taste. Okay, we call them chemoreceptors, right? Detecting taste. What else? Your skin has a thermoregulatory function as well. It can regulate heat, right? Through this epithelial surface, you can lose heat. Okay, you can lose heat. Thermoregulation is also there. Then osmoregulatory functions in the kidney, right? You can secrete sodium, potassium, phosphate ions. You can also reabsorb them. Both are also possible across the epithelium. Godak functions there. But we have condensed them into 3 main functions. One are the protection, secretion, absorption. Got it? Okay. You have to remember. Right. Then we'll move on to a classification of epithelial tissues based on the number of cell layers on this basement membrane. What is the classification criteria? What is the classification criteria? Based on the number of cells. Epithelial tissues based on the number of cell layers on basement membrane. Always when you are doing a classification, what is the classification criteria? Whenever you are doing a classification, what are you using as your classification criteria? No? There is scientific classification. Yeah, in evolution, we can scientifically classify. You use one of the sort of molecular structural features and evolutionary relationships. Those are the sort of the criteria we use. No? The method we use is number of cell layers on the basement membrane. Okay, number of cell layers on the basement membrane. So I have already drawn one type. There's only one cell layer on the basement membrane. What is the other type? More than one cell layer. Got it? So based on that criteria, you can have 2 as simple epithelia, compound epithelia. Simple epithelia and compound epithelia. So make a simple epithelium. There's only one cell layer. If you take a compound epithelium, right? If you take a compound epithelium, yeah. If this is the basement membrane, there's several cell layers on the basement membrane. Got it? Right. Compound epithelium. So in your syllabus, you need to know about 4 simple epithelia, 4 simple epithelia. Simple squamous. I'm not going. මේ හැම එකනටම ඉස්සරහට simple කැලේ එනවා. හරිද? Simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, simple columnar, and pseudo stratified. Pseudo stratified. If you can't see, come forward, okay? There's so much space, right? Pseudo stratified. Those are the 4 types of simple epithelium. Okay? We are going to study each of the features of these and the locations and the functions. තුනක් ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕන. Features, functions, location. Right? About each you need to know. Okay? Then when you come to compound epithelia, yeah, when you come to compound epithelia, there's only 2 types. So compound epithelia we can also call them as stratified. Okay, stratification කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Having several layers, no? අර forest එකත් අපි කිව්වේ stratification තියෙනවා, several layers. So you only need to know about 2 types of compound epithelia, that is squamous. There's only one in your syllabus. Yeah, there's only one. Sorry, there's only one. Stratified squamous විතරයි, but also you have stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. And මම නිකන් ලාවට touch කරන්න, there's one called transitional epithelium. I mean, it's not in the syllabus. This is all you need to know about epithelia. This is the classification. Okay? Clear? Right? So no need to take this down, right? Because we are going to study them individually. Okay? Any questions? If you like, you can draw this small diagram and do this classification based on the number of cell layers on this side of this page. Okay? Make one transition. Yeah, one. Tagga. Okay. Can you see the board? Yeah, sure. Put it on. Okay. Okay, done. Yeah. So, continue. Clear, no? Right. So we can move on to the first type of sort of specific study of the first epithelium that you need to know, right? Simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous, right? Let's read. Okay. Simple squamous epithelium. It's a single layer with plate-like cells. It's a single layer with plate-like cells. It's thin and leaky. They are found in places where materials exchange by diffusion, blood capillaries and alveoli. Okay, blood capillaries and alveoli. I'll erase, no, or maybe at the red now. No, we'll go from this side. Okay. So simple squamous epithelium is one of the most important epithelia, right? Okay, right? Yeah. One of the most important epithelia in the sense that because of its function, we have efficient exchange of materials, right? Because of its sort of composition as well as its functioning, we have very efficient exchange of materials. Okay. So, what are the features they say? It is thin and leaky. It is thin and leaky. What else? Uh, Hold on. Yeah. Found in places where materials exchange by diffusion. Okay. Plate-like cells. That is also a feature that is going to help this epithelia to function as a good diffusion surface. So you know diffusion is only efficient over small distances. Ne? Diffusion is only efficient over small distances because it doesn't require any energy. It is just a concentration gradient dependent thing. So if you take simple squamous, there's a diagram given in the tute. Okay, there's a diagram given in the tute. The cells are sort of plate-like, right? So there's a bump in the middle for the sort of the nucleus. Plate-like cells. There's a bump in the middle for the nucleus, and the next cell is sort of like this. They are very thin. They are very thin cells. Therefore, materials can diffuse across this. Materials can diffuse across this easily, right? Passive diffusion. Plate-like cells. Okay, and what else? Blood capillaries and alveoli are the places there you can find them. So, api memai karanne yanne, right? What are the list down the characteristics? Plate-like cells. Second one, they are thin. Third, leaky. Okay, those are the features. They are thin and they are leaky. Okay, and where are they found? Blood capillaries and alveoli. I will show these all with their locations using the projector. Okay. So in a blood capillary, what needs to happen? When something is being transported in blood, the nutrients or the oxygen should diffuse across the epithelium to reach the tissues. And from the tissues, carbon dioxide and other waste material should come back into blood. Right? So it should be very thick and it should be very permeable. Similarly, what happens in the alveoli? The gas exchange, gases exchange by diffusion. For that to happen efficiently, you also need to have a thin barrier. Thin barrier, right? So this is the first diagram. Can you see? Yeah, it wouldn't lian simple squamous epithelia. Online people, can you see the first diagram? Simple squamous. Okay, simple squamous. Then write down the features 1, 2, 3. Then the examples for locations. Examples for the locations, blood capillaries and alveoli. Blood capillaries and alveoli. Okay. Can you see? I have given a label BM kila dila thina basement membrane. Okay. BM is for basement membrane, and you can see the plate-like cells. They are flat. Got it? Found the diagram, ne? Simple squamous, right? Atharam ochcharai you need to know, right? That's all you need to know to answer any question that you will ever be asked, right? Nothing else. Locations will link simple squamous epithelium again where nowhere else will be questioned, right? They are, you only need to know they are found in the blood capillaries and alveoli. Okay? That's all you need to know. We make it a clear blood capillary wall එකට අපි කියනවා it is the endothelium. Okay, because this word is found in the syllabus, I am going to give it. It is called the endothelium. Okay, it is called the endothelium. Endothelium. Okay. Second tissue type. Okay, second tissue type, simple. So then I am not going to give single layer of cells because all these are simple tissues, right? Simple epithelia we are studying. So all of them are going to have only one cell layer. Okay, that is implied. No? Simple කියපු ගාම single layer. හරිද? Simple na single. Got it? හරි. Simple cuboidal epithelium, single cell layer with dice shaped cells. Highlight dice. මේ හැමෝටම අපිට you are going to see we have a this sort of a මේ descriptive noun එකක් තියෙනවා මෙන්න මේව. දැන් මෙතනට කියන්නේ plate කියලා. හරිද? මෙයාට කියන්නේ plate කියලා. දැන් මෙතන අලුත් එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා dice එකක් කියලා. Okay? You have to use those words. Okay? Dice shaped cells specialized for secretion found in kidney tubules and glands such as the thyroid and salivary glands. Okay. දැන් මෙහෙමයි පොඩි උතන පොඩි counter intuitive එකක් තියෙනවා. දැන් අපි cuboidal කිව්වහම what is a cuboid? It's a දිග පෙට්ටියන්නේ. ඒකට මෙතන these are actually cube shaped. හරිද? These are actually cube shaped. හරිද? cuboidal වලට වෙනම එකක් කියන්නේ ඇත්තම cuboidal shape එක තියෙනවා අපි කියනවා columnar කියලා. කණුවක් වගේ උසයි කියලා. Got it? So ඕක පොඩ්ඩක් confuse කරගන්න එපා. These are dice shape කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකයි. Dice එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Sort of you play sort of using the dice, right? It has 6 sides, it's a cube, right? So simple cuboidal. එදා කියන්නේ bio ඔන්න උන්ට geometry bag කියලා ලාවට හරි right simple cuboidal කියලා තමයි මේකට නම දුන්නේ okay simple cuboidal so there you have a basement membrane දැන් මම මේකේ basement membrane එක ඇන්දේ නැහැ right it has a basement membrane yachting right okay so here also you have a basement membrane okay and on top of the basement membrane you have these boxy cells dice shaped cells okay dice shaped cells that are specialized for secretion then metana if you can on the simple squamous එතනින් පොඩ්ඩක් different color pen if you can write specialized for diffusion කියලා ලියවන හොඳයි okay their specialty is what diffusion okay online people in the previous diagram under simple squamous specialized for diffusion specialized for diffusion මේගොල්ලෝ specialized for okay under simple squamous they are specialized for diffusion okay so මොනවාද මේගොල්ලෝ ගැන දැනගන්න ඕනේ that is the adjective okay what is the not the adjective නේ ඒක කියන්නේ noun එකක් කියලා මොකක් හරි right they are dice shaped okay they are dice shaped cells specialized for secretion dice shaped cells specialized for secretion dice shaped cells specialized for secretion example locations kidney tubules glands under glands you need to know two salivary thyroid I'll show you these all okay if you take the thyroid gland okay if you take the thyroid gland what is the function of the thyroid gland secrete thyroid hormones ne there's T3 and T4 කියලා දෙයක් තියෙනවා then thyroid glands have these things called thyroid follicles okay thyroid follicles කියලා જાතියක් තියෙනවා these thyroid follicles are surrounded by these simple cuboidal cells දැන් මේක thyroid gland එක මුලින්ම කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ in the neck right it's a glandular sort of නිකන් butterfly කෙනෙක් වගේ structure got it it's like a butterfly wrapping around their sort of trachea I'll show you that okay then if you take the microscopic view it has these sort of follicles මේ follicles ඇතුලේ තියෙන්නේ the hormone right mainly iodine based hormone right so that hormone is sort of regulated by අර නිකන් බැංකුවේ teller කෙනෙක් වගේ right sort of that they are guarding the hormone that is inside so these follicles are surrounded by simple cuboidal epithelial tissue layer හරිද simple cuboidal epithelial tissue layer king it's surrounded so that's how these thyroid hormones are secreted right and if you take a kidney there are kidney tubules you know නේද there's the proximal convoluted tubule descending loop of ascending or තිබ්බනේ ඔලොල්ලෝ yeah so if imagine you say this is the proximal convoluted tubule I have given you a cross section of the such a kidney tubule maybe so this second diagram I think මැද තියෙන this sort of the right hand side diagram those both two diagrams are simple cuboidal okay එතනත් they have given labeled as basement membrane තේරෙනවද okay so that's a kidney tubule label it මුලින්ම ඉඳලා යන්කෝ write down the topic simple cuboidal online people simple cuboidal so online people small announcement this part will be included in the tube that will be delivered to you okay this seminar paper will be included in the tube that will be delivered to you physical people you got it into your hands right online people this paper will be included in the tube that is delivered to you okay delivery I knew how to kill hinda I couldn't deliver, right? It's a, I don't know in Sri Lanka, no, everything is, everyone is having a holiday, no? Even like the delivery man or like I don't know, right? Everyone is on holiday, the press and okay, except for the healthcare workers maybe, right? Okay, so simple cuboidal epithelium. You can see the basement membrane. Method this sort of a real microscopic diagram. There is a kidney tubule. Okay, label can. It's a kidney tubule. Okay. So if you take the kidney tubule, then ohoma kidney tubule එකේ there's a basement membrane. Okay. And to the inside of it you have your simple cuboidal epithelium. මෙහෙම ඇතුළට තියෙනවා simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay. දැන් මෙතනින් පල්ලයට තමයි යූරින් ටික යන්නේ. Okay. මේව තමයි urine formation, right? All the things that need to be secreted. What are the things that need to be secreted? Excessive sort of urea, maybe too much potassium, too much sodium, other sort of metabolized drugs, right? Behet metabolized through the kidney you can remove. So all these are secreted by this simple cuboid. හරිද? Cuboidal නම් secretion නම් මතක තියාගන්න. chemistry නම් chemistry වගේ right? Cuboidal නම් secretion, right? ටක් ගාලා ලියන්න. Specialized for secretion, okay? Specialized for secretion. The only thing you need to know is they are dice shaped, feature dice shaped. Write down the example locations: kidney tubules and glands. Kidney tubules and glands. And මේ diagram එකේ label එකක් දාන්න. Can you see the purple color nucleus? අනේක nucleus කියන එක label එකක් දාන්න. Basement membrane already labeled. Okay? BM කියන්නේ basement membrane. Okay? Nucleus. Thyroid gland and salivary glands. Okay. Simple cuboidal cuboid, they are cube shaped. Okay, cuboidal cuboid, cube shaped. So මෙහෙම තමයි nucleus එක තියෙන්නේ. Right. Next up, simple columna. හරිද? Columns වගේ. Okay. So they are very tall and there can be a lot of sort of, let's say, variety depending on the locations where you can find them. Simple columnar epithelium, let's read, okay? Large and brick shaped. Gadol again. Brick shaped. Again, that's how you describe. How are you are supposed to describe. And I think it helps to memorize them as well. The mu plate wage, mu dice wage, meya brick wage. Got it? Found in places where secretion or active absorption is important. දෙකම කරන්න ඕන වෙලාවල් වල. Right? Either you have to be secretory or you have to act as absorption both. Okay? So when you need absorption, there are some specific features that we'll talk about. Okay? Simple columnar. Simple columnar. As usual, there's a basement membrane. Why basement membrane nothing? Because these are epithelial tissues. Yeah, epithelial tissues have a basement membrane. Okay. Simple column now. So how do you describe them? They are brick. Brick shaped. Okay, brick shaped, and they are specialized for what? Specialized for secretion or absorption, right? Specialized for secretion and absorption, or active absorption. When my word is very important, active absorption, because why? If you need to do passive absorption, kawad danna simple squamous. Yeah. If you need something to be absorbed actively, you need to put simple columnar, because inside there's a, I mean, you will see there are several ways to increase the surface area, and when the surface area of the cell is increased, there are specialized transporters that use that use energy to actively absorb using what? Transport proteins. So here just simple diffusion. Here you are going to have sort of ATP driven transport proteins in the simple columnar. So active absorption tha main agar. Got it? Active absorption. Obviously you can't do efficient passive absorption here. Hey, thickness එක වැඩි. So passive absorption is not very efficient here. Always active absorption. Intestinal lining. So if you take your intestine, most of these digested amino acids, glucose, and so many other minerals, all of those things are actively absorbed. In a digestive system, nothing is passively absorbed. Okay? Because in your digestive system, you need to strictly regulate what things are taken in. මෙහෙම බුක් ගාලා diffuse වෙන්න දෙන්න බෑ in the digestive system, because so many other දන්නවනේ කන જાති, right? So all the unnecessary things will be absorbed into your blood if you had a simple squamous epithelium in your intestine, right? But if you have a simple columnar, you can nicely regulate using specific transporters. Glucose will take kenai, amino acids will take kenai, minerals will take kenai, fructose will take kenai, lipids will take kenai. There are specific ways to filter the things that should be absorbed in the simple columnar. If you had thin and leaky epithelium, if you had it in the intestine, every day you are going to have infection. Got it? So also that's all you need to know. Brick shape found in the intestinal lining, right? So there's two diagrams. My diagrams they come as simple columnar. Okay, so write a common topic as simple columnar. Okay, write a common topic. May yata thina diagrams they come as simple columnar. Okay. Simple columnar age there's a sort of a special variant. Okay, simple columnar there's a special variant, ciliated columnar. Okay, ciliated columnar කෙනෙක් ඉන්න පුළුවන්. Ciliated columnar has several, let's say, features, right? Ciliated columnar, one thing that is done by the cilia is that sort of this movement. But more than that, this cilia that is found in these ciliated columnar cells increase the surface area. They increase the surface area by forming something called microvilli. Microvilli. දැන් මම ටික ලොකුවට අඳින්නම් sort of a columnar cell. right? So they have this sort of what we call as a brush border. Yeah, brush border එක කියලා තියෙනවා formed by the cilia. Okay, brush border formed by the cilia. These are ciliated columna. They increase the surface area. Okay, they increase the surface area. So below this right side, write down they are brick shaped, specialized for secretion and active absorption. Write down the example: intestinal lining, intestinal lining, intestinal lining. Online people, once you have received this, you can complete this. Okay, got it? Intestinal lining, and on this right hand side diagram there is ciliated columna. Okay, that is ciliated columna. Ciliated columna. මෙතන label එකක් දාන්න. There's a C කියලා there's a cilia for C එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඒකට label එකක් දාමු microvilli කියලා. Microvilli. Now very soon, next week we are going to start digestive system. Okay. Ciliated columna, mainly found in the small intestine. Mainly found in the small intestine. තව එක special place එකක් තියෙනවා, only found in females. Where? In the fallopian tube. Okay, in the fallopian tube there's a ciliated columnar epithelium that is involved in moving the egg towards the uterus. Okay, like දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් කිව්වා කියලා මතක තියාගන්න. When you are doing the female reproductive system, we'll talk about those. Okay. Okay. Then clear neda? This is plate like, thin and leaky. This is dice shaped, specialized for secretion. Area specialized for diffusion. This one brick shaped, specialized for secretion or active absorption, which can be ciliated as well. ඔය ටික තමයි දැනගන්න ඕනේ. Got it? We can move on to our one of the most interesting epithelia, that is pseudostratified. Shall I erase this one? Okay, ne? Pseudostratified, very very interesting. Okay, अभी मुलिम क्यों pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, page number 158. Okay, single cell layer, that is very important. Highlight single cell layer. Cells are not of equal height. Nuclei of cells are located at different levels. Therefore, the cells appear at several layers. In many vertebrates, this epithelium has ciliated cells that form a mucous membrane, and the cilia helps to sweep the mucus along the surface, nasal passage and the trachea. Okay, interesting. pseudo stratified. දැන් හැමදාම මේ pseudo කියන වචනේ දැම්මම you know it is not the exact something false, no? Pseudopodia, pseudo stratified. What else? තව කොහෙද pseudo හම්බුනේ අපිට? තව මොනවද pseudo එකක් තිබ්බද? Okay. Pseudo stratified. So there can be other pseudo stratified epithelia, but in your syllabus we have pseudo stratified columna. Okay, pseudo stratified columna is the one we have to study about. So as usual, you have a basement membrane. As usual, you have a basement membrane. And on this basement membrane, very interestingly, there are cells. Cells there. Okay. But the cells are not of equal height. So there are mehema usa cells there. So I'll first draw cells like this. Then what's going to happen is there are cells that are not reaching the top. There are cells that are not reaching the top at all. Mehema cells there. And this one has nucleus here. This one has nucleus here. This one has nucleus here. Okay. මෙහෙම උඩටම reach ලත් sometimes they don't reach the top surface. Okay. Cells are of different heights. Cells are of different heights. I'm sorry. Because the cells are of different heights. Because of their different heights, their nuclei are found at different levels. Nuclei in එක level. Right? Nuclei are at several levels. So if you take a microscopic view of this, it's going to appear that it has several cell layers. Go to page number 2 of the tube. Go to page number 2. So on top, the both diagrams are pseudo stratified. Look at this microscopic view. Microscope image එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා. Right? So the sort of the layer at the bottom, a light pink color, that is a connective tissue. ඒක නෙවෙයි උඩ තියෙන මේ purple, dark purple layer එක බලන්න. You can see the purple dots. Those purple dots are the nuclei. They had several layers නේ. උඩ තියෙනවා, පල්ලෙහා තියෙනවා, යට තියෙනවා. Right? So it appears as several cell layers. But that appearance is given because the cells are not of equal height and the nuclei are located at different levels. Got it? That's why it appears as several layers. And the one that we are talking about here, more specifically, is called the respiratory epithelium. The respiratory epithelium has cilia. Respiratory epithelium has cilia. And may randomly in this pseudostratified epithelium, there are mucus secreting cells. Mucus secreting goblet cells are randomly. They are going to secrete a mucus layer. They are going to secrete a mucus layer that is sort of in between these cilia. There's mucus in between these cilia. So what's going to happen? When whatever you breathe in, we breathe particulate contaminants, right? Carbon particles from the combustion of fossil fuels and dust and even viruses, bacteria, fungus, spores. So many things are there. What we breathe in, all those things are going to get, they are going to stick to this mucus. The mucus is sticky. It's going to stick to this mucus throughout the respiratory system. Then these cilia are going to beat nicely. I have shown you this. The mucus, so the cilia beats like this. Small hemimeter hubble, right? They have a sort of, it's ATP powered. So what they are going to do is they are going to move this mucus layer upwards. They are going to move this mucus layer from the lower parts of the respiratory system upwards, up to where? Up to the common place of the respiratory and the digestive system, pharynx. Pharynx usually goes into the esophagus. goes into the digestive system, right? So all this waste matter goes into the digestive system. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? So then this bacteria and pathogens can enter your digestive system. හොටු කනවනේ, right? Involuntarily your own body is feeding your own හොටු. Okay? That is called the mucus escalator. හරිද? මේ process එකට කියනවා this ciliated mucus upward movement is called the mucus escalator. දැන් OGF එකේ එහෙම තියෙන escalators like උඩට එතකොට mucus උයි ඔක්කොම හොටු ටික ඔටෝ උඩට යනවා. ඇවිල්ලා අර have you seen අර conveyor belt වලින් ඔහම කුණු වැටෙන්නේ පල්ලෙහාට ඒ වගේ it gets dumped into the esophagus. The esophagus is කොහෙද දැන් into a pH 2 very acidic incinerator එකකට වගේකට තමයි යන්නේ. The stomach is very difficult to survive. Okay? In a normal healthy person, the stomach is a nightmare for bacteria. There are acid tolerant bacteria. එතකොට ඒක වෙනම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙනවා. Helicobacter pylori කියලා එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා acid වලට මාර ආසයි. So he is going to infect the stomach. Right? So අර හැම එකටම මොකක් කරේ කැමති එකෙක් ඉන්නවා. ඕනම එකකට අර ඕනම තෙත පසක මොකෙද දින්නවා වගේ. Right? So every condition there is someone who likes that condition. But that doesn't apply to everyone. Okay? If you sort of have any viruses or any fungi or bacteria, most of that is going to be killed in the stomach or digested. Even sometimes when you cough and clear your throat, the mucus escalate accelerate. When you cough, like there's a forceful expiration. So through that, this mucus movement is going to be accelerated. You can either cough it out or you can swallow it. Okay, that is the self-cleaning mechanism of the respiratory system, driven by a pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, self-cleaning mechanism. So in the nasal passage, it's not very common because in the nasal passage, it's usually you have the skin. Skin usually in the deep nose and sort of the nasopharynx එකේ තමයි ඔය mucus epithelium එක හම්බෙන්නේ, right? Anyway, so you need to know several things, right? First of all, this is a simple epithelium. හරිද? මේක simple epithelium එකක්. There's only one cell layer. Why is it looking like several cell layers? You need to know. ඒක you need to list down, right? Why it looks like? Because of two reasons. No? Why it looks like a compound epithelium? Why? Cells are not of equal height. Cells are not of equal height. Nuclei located at different levels. Nuclei located at different levels. Okay. Those are the two reasons why it looks like compound or stratified. Okay. Then locations. What are the locations? Example, trachea, nasal passage, පොඩි label එකක් දාගමු. Mucus layer. Okay. And then you have this cilia. Cilia C කියලා label කරලා තියෙනවානේ. Yeah. So on the top of these two diagrams, pseudostratified columnar, write down the two reasons why it appears as several layers. Cells are not of equal height. Nuclei are located at different levels. Okay. Label cilia. Then put a star mark. Write down. Put a star mark and write down. Write down. The mucus layer write down. Star mark at dalliana. The mucus layer found in the respiratory epithelium. Okay, put a star mark and write. The mucus layer found in the respiratory epithelium helps to trap dust other particulate contaminants, helps to trap dust, other particulate contaminants and pathogens in inhaled air Next point, the beating of cilia. Next point, the beating of cilia. The beating of cilia moves this mucus upward. The beating of cilia moves this mucus upwards. The beating of cilia moves this mucus upwards towards the pharynx, upwards towards the pharynx, where it is swallowed into the esophagus, swallowed into the esophagus. Swallowed into the esophagus. Swallowed in the esophagus. If you can write down within brackets, it is called the mucus escalator. Mucus escalator එක කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ. Mucus escalator. Online people ලියනව නේද? Right. It's called the mucus escalator. හරිද? So actually, I mean, your body is designed to deal with their own contaminants. Okay, rather than coughing out. දැන් අපි අර හැම වෙලාවෙම කියනවානේ කියන්නේ කෙල ගහන්න කියලා හැම වෙලාවෙම. Right? But when you are sort of spitting everywhere, that is spreading infections everywhere, no? Right? Spreading infections everywhere. So your body is designed to clean your own respiratory system and also to get rid of your own pathogens. Right? It is designed to sort of swallow your own pathogens and then digest it. Right? Self-cleaning mechanism එකක් තියෙනවා. Yeah, there's a self-cleaning mechanism. Okay, that is about the pseudostratified epithelium, and with that we are done with all simple epithelia. හරිද? Simple epithelia ඉවරයි. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Then we can move on to the only type of compound epithelia that you need to know. Stratified squamous. Okay. Nothing to be labeled. Okay. label කරන දෙයක් නැහැ. In the diagrams you can see nuclei at different levels. Pseudocertified columnar නෙවෙයි දීලාද? That's wrong නේද? Where no, that's a columnar epithelium clearly, no? That's wrong. Okay? That's clearly a pseudocertified columnar epithelium. The resource book labeling is wrong. Yeah, I only saw that. Yeah. In the revised edition, it's not corrected. No, right? Yeah, even I use the PDF. Yeah. Pseudocertified columnar epithelium. Okay. Hi. We are moving on to stratified epithelia. Then we are pseudo. Then proper. We are going to move on to proper stratified epithelia. Okay, right. So compound epithelia or stratified epithelia, there's only one type you need to know. Okay, any question? Right, let's read. Stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, this tissue is composed of a number of layer of cells. Epithelium regenerates rapidly. Very important. Highlight. Regenerates rapidly. Cell division produces new cells near the basement membrane. Old cells are sloughed off. Sloughed off. This is an important word. Okay, you have to write that. Sloughed off and replaced by new cells. Found on surfaces where they are subjected to aberrations such as outer skin, lining of mouth, anus, and vagina. Okay. So in the tute, these are the from this point onwards, everything is about stratified epithelium. So write down the topic. Right, these two diagrams and this one also is regarding stratified epithelium. So write down the topic: stratified squamous. Okay. Stratified squamous. Stratified cuboidal are a bit rare, okay? In your body, they are rare. Stratified squamous. As usual, okay? I mean, there's going to be two types of this, but I'll explain the basic one, Mulimma, right? So there's a basement membrane, either. Always I keep on telling you these things because these are the basic features, okay? Then on this, actually at the very bottom, sort of boxy shaped. අපි දැන් squamous කිව්වට, okay? මේවට අපි squamous කිව්වට they are actually bit boxy shaped at the lowest layer. හරිද? Then ඒගොල්ලෝ ටිකෙන් ටික උඩට යනකොට they start to get more and more flattened. They start to get more and more flattened. Okay, they start to get more and more flattened. And more plate-like. ටිකෙන් ටික squamous වෙනවා. Right? ටිකෙන් ටික they are becoming squamous. Okay. They are becoming plate-like cells as they go upwards. At the sort of the very top, they are very flat, right? They are very flat, plate-like. Okay. Can you see in the tute I have given you some diagrams? Near the basement membrane, yeah, near the basement membrane, they are almost cuboidal. Can you see this diagram? Near the basement membrane, they are almost cuboidal. At the top, it's like plates. Got it? You need to know that sort of transition, right? So near the basement membrane, BM. Why is it? Why is it? I mean, why are they sort of cuboidal there? That's because they were just generated. They just underwent cell division. Okay, they just underwent cell division, so they are sort of fresh cells. The උඩට වෙන්න තමයි old cells in, right? So they undergo gradual changes as they go upwards. How are they going upwards? Why are they going upwards? Because these old layers are always getting sloughed off. Sloughed off means due to external forces, they are always getting removed. දැන් මම මෙහෙම කරත් few cell layers of my skin is going out because of that small force, right? But there are a lot of cells underneath going to take its position. Every day at night, yeah, in your bed sheets, you are shedding your skin. All skin is being shed, yeah, and new cells are being generated. එතකොට දැන් old cells කන්න ඉන්නවා කවුද? Dust mites අරුමුන්ගේ, right? Small arthropods, they feed on your sort of your shedded skin. That's good protein. Okay, skin cells are protein, so dead cells, they are being digested and they are being replaced, and all cells are being produced by what cell division? Mitosis. Mitosis always near the basement membrane to take the place of the old people, sloughed off. So this is a normal sort of a epithelia that you can find in the lining of mouth. Okay, lining of mouth, constant abrasion ne එකව කනවනේ, right? Sharp edges තියෙන ඒවා කනවා, right? Have you done this practical? අර yogurt spoon එකේ මෙම lining of the mouth scrape කරලා put it onto a drop of water and observe under microscope? No? If you do that, you can see the sort of the typical squamous epithelium appearance. Normal squamous epithelium appearance එක තමයි පේන්නේ. මේ plate like cells. That is because the whole layer is actually squamous නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ scrape කරලා ගන්න, the layer is, you are scraping out a squamous layer of the several layers. The several layers ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. ඒකෙන් you use this yogurt spoon and sort of ඔය පරණ yogurt spoon ගැන කියන්නේ මේ අලුත් අය the cardboard spoon එක නෙවෙයි, right? ඉස්සර you had plastic, right? So that means the outermost cells are more closer to the simple squamous, but the newest ones at the basement membrane, they are almost cube-like, cuboidal like. Got it? So this is, to be more specific, මෙයා ඇවිල්ලා non-keratinized stratified. මෙයාට කියනවා අපි non-keratinized stratified squamous. සම්පූර්ණ නම ඒක. There's another type called keratinized. Keratinized stratified squamous. Okay? දැන් මම ඒක වෙනම එකක් අඳින්න යන්නේ නැහැ. Right? What happens in keratinized cells is these outer layers are filled with keratin. These outer layers are filled with keratin. At the same time, there's an outer layer of keratin as well. එවා එළියෙන් keratin layer එකකුත් තියෙනවා. Keratin protein, okay? There's an outer layer of keratin as well. Outer cell layers are keratinized, so they are dead. Outermost cell layers are keratinized, so that they are dead, and over that there's a keratin layer as well. Then that you can see in this bottom diagram. Can you see K කියලා තියෙන layer එක? Yeah. K, keratin layer. Label it keratin layer. Keratin layer. Then you need to know the examples. So where do you have non-keratinized epithelia? කියනබ? Non-keratinized. non keratinized. කොහෙද තියෙන? ඔතන තියෙන example ටික දැනගත්තා නම් ඇති. okay. Non keratinized. The mouth එක ඇතුලේ can you feel any keratin? Is it very rough? No. Lining of mouth. Where else? දැන් ඔතන හතරක් තියෙනවනේ එතනින් කියනවා. Where else can you have non keratinized epithelium? දැන් keratinized තියෙන්නේ එක තැනයි. ඒතකොට එහෙම කිව්වම ඉවරයි. Keratinized තියෙන්නේ outer skin එකේ විතරයි. Skin epidermis. That's all. That's where you have keratinized epithelium. So, lining of mouth, anus, vagina, you have non-keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium. Okay, right. So you wrote the topic, right? Then stratified squamous. Label these two as non-keratinized. Non-keratinized stratified squamous. Then write down some features. 1, 2, 3 dalaliyum features. Okay. 1, 2, 3 danda. First one, regenerates rapidly. Regenerates rapidly. Regenerates rapidly. Next point. New cells are produced. New cells are produced by mitosis. New cells are produced by mitosis near the basement membrane. New cells are produced by mitosis near the basement membrane. New cells are produced by mitosis near the basement membrane. Next point, all cells are sloughed off. All cells are sloughed off and replaced by new cells. All cells are sloughed off and replaced by new cells. Okay. Then near this bottom diagram, label it as keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Example, outer skin. Example, outer skin. Example, outer skin. Okay. And under non-keratinized, write down these 3 examples for non-keratinized. Keratin ne, lining of mouth, anus, vagina. Lining of mouth, anus, vagina. So, wherever you have this keratinized epithelium, it is very rough. Keratin is a rough protein. It's a structural protein, right? So using general knowledge, you can understand, right? So if you take your anal passage, your digestive system, so there's the large intestine rectum then there's the anus and this is the anal opening, right? So in the anus open, right? These are the glute muscles, so the glutes right? This is the opening, right? Right, okay. Then up to here, the glute muscle like a buttock cover in skin, right? Yeah, so the glute is covered with buttock covered in skin. So that skin goes into the anus. Anus up to a certain level, right? There's a line. There's a significant line inside the anus where the skin stops. Okay, where the skin stops and the actual sort of your this intestinal epithelium is from this point onwards. So up to here in the anus, it is skin up to a level. You can clearly see it. You can't, right? There are specific instruments, right? Colonoscopy like immediately you can see there's a clear line. Skin tone immediately you can identify, right? The skin tone quickly changes from the black skin color to the pink color of the mucosa. Mucosa again a digestive epithelium. Okay, right? So up to here you have what? The non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Keratinized, okay? Where do you have keratin? And in your body, as an adaptation, you can have increased keratin levels in certain places. The keratin layer can be very thick. Where? In your palms. Right? That is because of the keratin rubbing together. In certain other places, the keratin layer is not that much, right? And in your soles of the feet, heel padi keratin layer that is because it's very thick. Those places are subjected to constant abrasion, constant friction, constant damage, right? So the body is adapting to that by producing more keratin. Okay, more keratin. Similarly, in the vaginal epithelium, up to you can clearly see where the skin epithelium stops and the vaginal epithelium starts in the vagina. So it is lined by non-keratinized. Keratin tibbot edana loku issue, right? In the vaginal epithelium, there's going to be some friction problems, right? Right? Okay, so you can use in general knowledge, you can see where you have keratin, where you have non-keratinized epithelium. Got it? So with that, we are done with epithelium. Okay, we are done with epithelium. Clear? Any questions? So at the end, we are going to have a question session, right? So everything will be revised once more. Clear? Right. So have a small break because we have a lot to cover today. I'll have a small break and we'll start in 10 minutes. Start. Okay. There's a question. Is there a major difference in the function of ciliated columna and pseudostratified? Yes. Ciliated columna is specialized for secretion and active absorption. Yeah. Pseudostratified is, because it is pseudostratified, the main thing is their integrity is a bit high. So the cellular support is good because there are small cells and tall cells. So there's a good cellular connection. Other than that, there's no reason to have columnar epithelium in the respiratory system, right? You can just do it with the pseudostratified. Got it? Why can't we see ciliated columnar epithelia? Right? In your body, there are assigned places for several epithelia. So then, Usually you can see columnar epithelium only in your digestive system. It is very sort of pink colored and very rich and vascularized, the columnar epithelium, right? But if you have columnar epithelium in your respiratory system, that is, I mean, it's sort of a very susceptible epithelium, columnar epithelium, easily damaged. And so we just put pseudostratified and give it some cilia, and එයාට දෙනවා specialized function එකක්, act as the mucus removal job. So that's how epithelia are assigned, right? Got it? Okay, let's take a small break. ටග්ගාලා එන්න ගිහිල්ලා. Okay. Connective tissues ගොඩක් තියෙනවා කතා කරලා. Okay, all right. Can you hear me? We can start again. Okay. So we'll move on to connective tissues. Okay. So at the end we'll do a small revision with the question discussion. So anyway, we'll cover the theory first, and then okay. So I'm going to be as simple as possible. Nothing. I mean, no extra sort of let's say facts, because simplicity is the key. As simple as possible, we have to finish it. Then it's easier to retain, right? Yeah, ගොඩාක් facts කියනවට වඩා just the important things. That's how you are going to retain it. Okay. Right. So connective tissue. There's a lot to be covered under connective tissue. I mean, to be honest, muscle and nervous, not exactly. I mean, there's not much to be covered. Okay. Connective tissue is the bulk of what we have to do today. Okay. Right. So connective tissue, there's a nice diversity. Sometimes you can't even, let's say, clearly see if this is a connective tissue or not. There's such a diversity in the connective tissue, in their composition, in their functions, in their locations, right? So that's what we are going to explore. I mean, we are going to compare. So as always, to a connective tissue, I mean to any tissue, as to any tissue, there's a common structure, right? There's a common structure. Epithelial tissue we talked about, there's a basement membrane, apical surface, basal surface, there's no blood supply, there's a common set of features. For a connective tissue also, there's a list of, there's a model. Okay. So there are some tissues who are exactly like the sort of the typical model, and there are tissues that are deviating a lot from that typical model. Deviating a lot, or they are exactly like the typical model. Okay. There's two sides to it. Got it? Page 158, connective tissue. Connective tissues are the most abundant tissues. Highlight. Connective tissues are the most abundant tissue types. Okay. That help to connect organs and tissues together structurally and functionally. They connect. Okay. Connective tissues connect structurally as well as functionally. What do you mean by structurally? Physically connected. Functionally means the one function of another tissue is connected through the connective tissue to another tissue. Got it? For example, there can be certain neurotransmitters that are in the brain traveling via blood and acting somewhere else. Neurotransmitters traveling through blood and acting somewhere else. Or an endocrine organ such as a hormone secreting gland, maybe your hypothalamus secreting a hormone traveling through blood and acting somewhere else, maybe in your sort of reproductive gonads or testes or somewhere like that. Or maybe a muscle that is connected to a connective tissue to a bone, so muscle action is possible. So functionally as well as structurally they connect. Got it? They consist of different types of cells scattered in a large amount of matrix containing different types of fibers. Matrix can be a semi-solid, liquid or solid. Got it? Then we are going to study this model of a connective tissue, right? Model of a kind. Then මතකද එහෙම DNA එහෙම ගැන කතා කරද්දී the sugar can be of two types. Then the nitrogenous base can be of two types as purines, pyrimidines. එතකොට purines තුනයි දෙකක් තියෙනවා, pyrimidines තුනයි. එහෙම we talked about all the possibilities, right? So connective tissues is also like that. There are several sort of options to make a connective tissue. There are several options. Then imagine you are making maybe sort of building a car to buy. Right, ඔයගලන්ට spec කරන්න පුළුවන් color එක මොන වගේද, interior මොන වගේද, engine එක මොකක්ද, right? What do you want, alloy wheels or not? ඒ වගේ you can spec, no? You can customize your car. ඒ වගේ from a list of options you can customize your connective tissue. Okay, you can customize your connective tissue. ඔයගලන්ට customize කරන්න පුළුවන් areas තුනක් තියෙනවා. Those are the three main parts of a connective tissue. What are they? In a connective tissue there are three main parts. Okay, there are cells, there are fibers, and all these cells and fibers are embedded in a matrix. හරි ඔන්න ඔය තුන තමයි ස්පෙસિෆයි කරන්න පුළුවන්. අර කාර් එකේ එන්ජින් එකයි කලර් එකයි maybe wheels හරි මොකක් ඉන්ටීරියර් ඔය වගේ ක්‍රයිටීරියා තුනක් චූස් කරන්න පුළුවන් වගේ in a connective tissue you can choose three things. I mean three components. These are the three main components of a connective tissue. Right? What are the options for cells? What are the options for cells? Let's read. Different cells can be found such as fibroblasts secrete fiber proteins. Next page, okay? Fibroblasts secrete fiber proteins. Macrophages engulf foreign particles or any cell debris by phagocytosis. Mast cells secrete heparin and histamine. Fat cells storage and insulation. Leukocytes protection. Options පහක් තියෙනවා. දැන් එතකොට imagine this is the sort of the body color. Colors පහක් තියෙනවා. Cells ಜಾති පහක් තියෙනවා. You can choose from. Got it? 5 options are there. Cells. You can have fibroblasts. What else? Mast cells. Macrophages. තව මොනවද කියන්නේ? Fibroblasts, macrophages තව මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? What else? Leukocytes, fat cells. Okay. These are the cell options. If you are building a connective tissue, these are the cell options. මේ පහම උනත් දාන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, you can include all these 5 in the connective tissue, or you can specify leukocytes and fat cells. These are the cell options. Okay. What are the 5 options? 5 options තුනක් තියෙනවා. Collagen provides strength and support. Reticular fibers join connective tissues to adjacent tissues, and elastic fibers make the tissue elastic. හරි. 5 options තුනයි තියෙන්නේ. Collagen, reticular, elastic. Collagen, reticular, elastic. Those are the 5 options. You are building a connective tissue. මේවා තමයි options. අර spec sheet එකක් තියෙනවා. Got it? තේරුණා? Okay. Then matrix. You can have several options for the matrix as well. Matrix එක decide කරන්නේ from the state. You can have liquid matrix. You can have a semi-solid matrix, you can have a solid matrix as well. What are my options? Got it? You are building a connective tissue. මේවා තමයි different specs that you can decide. Okay? Clear? So the semi-solid can be jelly-like. So when we are studying each of the connective tissues, we will say, "Hari, මෙයාගේ matrix එක මොනකද්ද? Solid the liquid the semi-solid." We are going to, when we are discussing individually, we are going to see, okay, which sort of a matrix they have. Got it? Let's so come to page number 3. Online people, come to page number 3. Okay. Connective tissue. Right, අපි උඩ ඉඳලා ලියමු. Write down some points. Start at the topic එක උඩින් පටන් ගන්න, right? Otherwise you are not going to have space. Okay. Connect organs and tissues. Okay. Connect organs and tissues. Connect organs and tissues together. Connect organs and tissues together structurally and functionally. Connect organs and tissues together structurally and functionally. Okay, right. So I want you to complete this properly. හරිද? මේ space එක properly manage කරන්න. Okay? Right? Make it a short note. Right? What are the 3 options? What are the 3 parts of a connective tissue? There are cells, fibers, and a matrix. හරිද? Okay? Under each component, you are going to write down the function. Okay? Under each component, write down the function. For example, fibroblasts. Fibroblasts, what do they do? Fibroblasts, what do they do? Secrete. Fibroblasts, what do they do? Secrete fiber proteins. Okay? Hurry, start to write. Okay? Cells, fibers, and matrix, there are 3 components. මෙතෙන්ට වැඩිපුර ස්පේස් ගන්න. Okay? Right? Secrete fiber proteins. Fibroblast, fiber proteins. Mast cells, heparin, histamine. Macrophages engulf, or you can say phagocytosis. Leukocytes protection. Fat cells insulation. Fat cells insulation and storage. Cells insulation and storage. Collagen provides strength. Collagen provides strength and flexibility. Okay, strength ekkama it provides flexibility. Okay. Reticular, they connect. Connect the connective tissue to adjacent tissues. Elastic, obviously make it elastic. මේ තුනට ලියන්න දේවල් නැහැ. Matrix වලට there's nothing much to be written. Okay. So wherever you are writing this, particularly the cells, you need to know their individual functions. Fibroblasts, the name itself has, it is sort of blasting fibers. Okay, ඉස්සරහට තව blast ලා set එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා. Osteoblast, chondroblast, right? Usually blast cells, they are sort of they are secreting, they are releasing something in here, fiber proteins. Mast cells secrete heparin and histamine. I will explain those, what those are. Okay. Refer the resource book and write down, okay. Mast cells secrete heparin and histamine. Macrophages engulf foreign particles or any cell debris. So here, this black and white image is a typical connective tissue. Okay, okkoma you can see in that diagram, you can see all these components. Okay, there are macrophages, white blood cells. Leukocytes can white blood cells, okay? Danwane. Leukocytes can white blood cells, okay? And there's a fibroblast, there's a fat cell. Okay. Then collagen provides strength and flexibility. You know, collagen is a quaternary protein. Composed of how many protein subunits? 3. Oh. All right, people, write down. Once you have received the tute, you can complete it. Okay. Reticular connect the connective tissues to adjacent tissues. Usually, what is the adjacent tissue? If you take, for example, the connective tissue under the skin is connected to the connective tissue by these reticular fibers. The collagen fiber provides sort of, when you stretch the tissue, it doesn't tear itself. It doesn't separate into components. It's like when you are building you are putting a concrete, you put sort of steel rods there, no? Right? Right? Kambi. That is to provide support. The collagen fibers are like that. Elastic fibers, there are places where the connective tissues need to be very flexible. For example, if you take the cartilage of your ear, very elastic, no? Nose, elastic, right? So in those places, the elastic fiber concentration or the sort of the amount is high. Okay. All these things you can vary. You are specifying a connective tissue. So depending on your purpose, you can increase and decrease these things. Then if you want a connective tissue that is very, very strong, collagen increase. Yeah. If you want a connective tissue that is very, very elastic ko increase. If you want a tissue that is going to be mainly insulation and storage, fat cells ready karna. Yeah? Depending you on a specify. If you want a very good transport tissue, matrix liquid karna. ලස්සනට flow වෙනවානේ. තේරුණාද? Right? And if you want a lot of protection by the sort of the connective tissue itself, sort of immune protection, mast cells, macrophages, that concentration you can increase. Yeah? So you can specify depending on what you want. And if you want a very strong one, I mean very rigid one, මොකද ගන්නෙ? matrix එක solid එකක් දාන්න. ඕන විදිහට specify කරලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. It's like a vehicle, no? You can increase the engine, you can give different interior specs ඒ වගේ, right? Off-road tire හයි ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ you can, depending on your purpose, you can specify the connective tissue. Got it? These are the options. අර spec sheet එක. Got it? Now we are going to see some already made samples. දැනට තියෙන connective tissue examples. Got it? All right. So what are the functions? Come to the resource book, okay? Come to the resource book. What are the functions? Binding and structural support, protection, transport, insulation. Okay? Clear? So, I mean, when we are talking individually about the connective tissues, we'll talk about the functions as well. So, we'll come to the first connective tissue, loose connective tissue or areola. Loose connective tissue, areola. I'll show you all examples for these. Okay. So, the first one, areola or loose. So, this is the model connective tissue. This is the model connective tissue. This tissue is like the sort of ඔක්කොම එකට දාලා හදපු tissue එක. All these things are found in this tissue, in the loose connective tissue. Everything. It is the model of a connective tissue. Right? Let's see. Let's read, okay? Resource book. This tissue is the most widely distributed connective tissue in the vertebrate body. It can be considered as a generalized type. Highlight the word generalized. Okay? It's a generalized type of connective tissue. What are the cells that can be found? Fibroblasts, macrophages, mast, leukocytes, fat. Right? All the cells are found there. Okay? In the loose connective tissue. All three types of fibers are found. Fibers are loosely arranged and wavy. Okay? Binds epithelia and underlying tissue. Therefore, holds organs in place. Found under the skin. Okay, I think just highlighting is enough. Okay, highlight binds epithelia and the underlying tissue. So, for example, if you take your skin, underneath your skin, you have a layer of areola tissue. Okay, found under the skin and throughout the body. It's like a filler, right? Wherever you need sort of a space fill with a connective tissue, you have loose connective tissue. It's non-specialized. Non-specialized. ඕන දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. පොඩි transport function එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්, පොඩි support function එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්, පොඩි insulation වැඩක් ගන්න පුළුවන්, පොඩි protection එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Everything can be done, but නිකන් superior ම නෙවෙයි, but can be done. තේරුණාද? Yeah? Loose connective tissue, widely distributed, found everywhere. I haven't given a exact diagram. This is actually, මේ දීලා තියෙන black and white diagram is actually a loose connective tissue. But it is very similar to the model of the connective tissue as well. Got it? Right. So, I mean, nothing much to be talked about. Okay. You can say it binds epithelia. Binds epithelia and underlying tissue. Okay. And locations under the skin. That's enough for the examples. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's move on to මෙයාගේ sort of the polar opposite or the opposite one. That is the dense connective tissue. Loose එකේ dense එකේ. Okay. Dense connective tissue. Now that is interesting. Right. Dense connective tissue. Or you can call him fibrous, dense or fibrous connective tissue. Now that is interesting. Now we are starting to get specialized connective tissues. Okay, let's read. Densely packed with collagen fibers. Highlight densely packed with collagen fibers. Densely packed with collagen fibers. Therefore, the matrix is relatively reduced. Contain fewer cells. Okay. Found in tendons and ligaments. Okay. What is a tendon? Attach muscle to bones, and ligaments attach bones at joints where tensile strength is required. Okay. So, fibrous connective tissue or dense connective tissue you can find in two main places, at tendons and ligaments. At tendons and ligaments. Okay. What is a tendon? Where are the places in your body you can feel a tendon? Biceps tendon. Yeah. Where the muscle, the biceps muscle attaches to the what bone? This is the elbow bone, right? So this is the humerus. This is the end, and there's another bone called the ulna, and there's another one radius, right? So how is the biceps attaching? Bicep, right? How is the bicep attaching to this radius and the ulna? By the tendon. By the tendon. So there's another tendon here that is in the sort of the shoulder joint. Okay. Tendons are dense connective tissue dominated by collagen, mainly all collagen. Okay. It's sort of like it's like a chain or like a sort of a nice, very strong material, only sort of linearly arranged collagen fibers. And cells tibba, thiena cells tigat mainly fiber secreting proteins. Okay. Sorry, protein fiber secreting cells. Got it? So tendons, you need to know the difference. Connect muscle to bones. Then where do you have ligaments? Ligaments are found at joints. What are the most common places where you have ligament injuries, ligament tears? Knee again, right? ACL, anterior cruciate ligament, ACL tear කියලා අහලා තියෙනවද? රගර් ගහන ක්‍රිකට් ගහන අයගේ වෙන්නේ. ACL tear වෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ. knee එක ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා, there are so many fine ligaments. I'll show you. Right? So ligaments stabilize a joint. Around the knee joint there's a lot of ligaments. Around your hip there's a lot of ligaments, stabilizing the bones in place in the joint. Around the shoulder you have a lot of ligaments. Yeah. So ligaments, they say, connect bones at joints. Connect bones at joints. That's a function of a ligament. Okay. So those are both all composed of dense or fibrous connective tissue. Okay. Right. The lower diagram is actually cartilage. Okay. So on the side, dense connective tissue is found in two places, in the tendons and the ligaments. Okay. Found in two places, in tendons and in ligaments. Okay. In tendons and ligaments. Tendons connect muscle to bone, ligaments connect what? Bones at the joints. Okay. Okay. Then the next type of specialized tissue, I have given a diagram here, adipose. Okay, adipose. Can you see this left side bottom one? Adipose tissue, label it, put the topic as adipose. Okay. It's again a sort of a differentiated connective tissue type, right? So it is dominated by who? Fat cells. Adipose, dominated by fat cells. What are the features? Each adipose cell contains a large fat droplet. It is a specialized type of loose connective tissue which pads and insulates the body, stores fuel as fat molecules. Found under the skin where it can act as a thermal insulator and a energy store. Okay. Right. What are the features? Mainly adipose cells. What are the functions? Yeah, so Mehman, adipose tissue, you don't need to know this. Adipose tissue is of two types, as subcutaneous, okay, and visceral adipose. Okay, I'll show you both in diagrams. Subcutaneous means the adipose tissue that is found under the skin. Okay, that means everywhere you can have under the skin, sort of the fullness to the skin is given by the adipose. Yeah. Then there's another type called visceral. Visceral adipose is found around internal organs. Okay, around the liver, around the intestines, around the heart. Everywhere you can have fat deposits. Okay, that is the bad type of adipose tissue. Okay, a person can be very healthy while having a substantial amount of subcutaneous tissue fat. Subcutaneous fat is actually a good feature. Those kind of people can bear up cold. Very සීතල ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? And they usually have a bit more body strength as well, because that is an indicative of sort of the calorie intake, right? Have you seen these sort of strongman competitions? Strongest people in the world, are they sort of bodybuilder level, very lean? No, right? Weight lifters are power lifters, have you seen? They have a lot of subcutaneous fat. That is because their diet is mainly protein and also fat, so that they have a lot of energy, right? So subcutaneous adipose is good. I'll show you some visceral adipose, particularly around the heart. That's bad. That is going to restrict the heart functioning, sort of the heart contraction, and around the intestine there can be a lot of fat deposits. In the liver there can be a lot of fat deposits. Those are bad. Adipose, mainly adipose cells. What are the functions? Storage, insulator and energy store. Energy store, insulation and energy store, right? The diagram is this. Got it? We'll come back to cartilage. Okay, we'll come back to cartilage. So next up is blood tissue. So here I'm only going to focus blood as just a connective tissue only, okay? Nothing much, right? There are so many things we have to talk about blood, different types of white blood cells, about platelets, about the plasma. So many things we need to talk about the clotting factors in blood, what are the other defensive factors in blood, okay, that will be talked under circulatory system, right? Right now, we are going to just focus on it as a connective tissue, okay? Okay. All right. Shall we read blood tissue? It's a specialized connective tissue where the matrix is not secreted by the blood cells. Okay. Numbers done. These are sort of abnormalities of blood tissue. Okay. Abnormal features of blood tissue. Number one, matrix is not secreted by the cells. Then two, fibers are only formed during the blood clotting process. Three, extracellular matrix is a liquid. Extracellular matrix is a liquid. Okay. So if you take blood tissue, very specialized tissue, okay, blood. Blood has two main parts. There is a liquid component which is called the plasma. Right? Then we can't actually say cells. The sort of the other sort of the solid components in blood, we call it as hematocrit. Okay, hematocrit again. You can do something called centrifugation. Blood tikak karagena, there's a centrifugation machine in the wards. In the ward also we have, right? The makeup sort of when you are having dengue wage අපි කියන erythrocyte sedimentation rate කියලා එකක් බලනවා in the ward. Doctors ලැවිලා නිකන් blood චුට්ට චුට්ට අරන් යනවානේ when you are having dengue, because for dengue we have a specialized follow up chart. Okay, there's a red chart and a blue chart කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. We don't take dengue lightly, right? So whenever we have a dengue positive patient, we have to follow him, right? So he's going to have a fever තියෙන phase එකක් තියෙනවා. Then we have a phase called leaking phase. So in the leaking phase, every 1 hour we have to go and check this ESR එකක් කියලා එකක් බලනවා, and pressure and urine output, fluid intake we have to monitor every hour. If you are in a government hospital, it's going to happen. The doctor is going to come and check. Got it? So in that, what we do is we take some blood, we spin it very fast. High karagona, that is called centrifugation. High when the solid components in blood is going to get separated from the liquid. Okay, so you are going to see this sort of a suspension. The meheman test tube bag ne අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර sort of a capillary tube bag එක කරන්නේ, right? At the bottom you are going to get all the solid components in blood, and at the top you are going to get a sort of a almost clear, sort of yellowish slightly solution, very clear solution. This is the plasma. Okay, what is included in this hematocrit? What is included in this solid hematocrit part? What is there? You have red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, platelets we can't consider as cells. They are sort of fragments of cells, cell care level. They are not cells. Plasma has so many things: dissolved gases, you have plasma proteins, you can have antibodies, you can have hormones. Urea, what else? Amino acids, sort of lipids in the form of sort of lipid package, you know, chylomicrons කියලා ඒවා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. What else is given? තමනත්ති respiratory gases, that's it, no? Salts, water අමතකුණා, right? Mainly water. Okay, water, salts තියෙන්න පුළුවන්, sodium, potassium, chlorine, phosphate, අරමයා. Okay, that's it. Clear? Right. So there's a diagram of blood here. Okay, there's a diagram of blood. Maybe divide it into two. Plasma and maybe a hematocrit kind of word is not found in your syllabus, so I'm not going to give it. So plasma. Under that you write water, salts, proteins. Okay, water, salts, proteins. Nutrients. The proteins give nutrients with include, okay, right? Waste, metabolic waste, right? Metabolic waste, such as urea, ammonia. Metabolic waste, antibodies, hormones. You can also write clotting factors that are needed for blood clotting factors. Okay, clotting factors. Those are all the things included in blood plasma. Blood plasma. Okay, mainly water. Okay, proteins. Can someone tell me a plasma protein? One plasma protein. Albumin. Albumin is the commonest. The මේවා antibodies they are type of protein, immunoglobulins, type of protein. What is the function of serum albumin? Serum albumin, transport fatty acids. Metabolic waste, if you like, you can write example urea, ammonia. Okay. Nutrients, water soluble vitamins. What are the water soluble vitamins? B and C, transported by blood. Okay. Then on the side of cells, cell side red blood cells. What is the main function of red blood cells? Transport respiratory gases. Okay, RBC Israelian. Okay, transport respiratory gases. White blood cells defense, platelets clotting. Okay. Okay, so that is blood. Clear? Then we move on to cartilage, right? Then we move on to cartilage, right? I mean, I can go on about different types of cartilage, fibrocartilage. I have also given hyaline cartilage, elastic cartilage. I have given. That is just for your interest. You only need to have a very general idea about cartilage, right? Nothing extra is needed. So let's read. As usual, it's a connective tissue, so it has a matrix, it has fibers, it has cells. ඔය තුනනේ තියෙන්නේ, right? What do they say about the matrix? There's something special about the matrix, right? It has a special protein and a carbohydrate mix එකක් called chondroitin sulfate. Okay, highlight that. Cartilage has a matrix composed of chondroitin sulfate. Collagen fibers and chondrocytes are embedded in the matrix. Chondrocytes secrete chondroitin sulfate and the collagen fibers. Okay, so let's make a small note of it. Shall I erase this? So if you take cartilage and bone, they are a bit similar. If you take cartilage and bone, they are a bit similar, right? They are a bit similar. If you take cartilage, I'm not going to contradict the resource book in any way, right? But it's given as chondrocytes secrete chondroitin sulfate. Poddi issue එකක් තියෙනවා, but just know it, remember it in that way. කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ, right? We are not going to correct a revised edition එකෙත් correct කරලා නැහැ, right? So matrix, yeah, what is the matrix composition? Chondroitin sulfate. Matrix is secreted by who? Matrix is secreted by who? Chondrocytes. Chondrocytes. මේක ලේසිනේ. අපි chondrichthyes cartilage fish නේ. Chondro කියලා කියන්නේ that is the prefix for any cartilage. Cartilage fish, the cartilage cells, the chondroitin, the cartilage matrix, anything chondro is cartilage. Right? ඔය වගේ තමයි osteo කියන්නේ bone, hepato කියන්නේ liver, right? ඒ වගේ ඕනම එකකට there are some prefixes in your body. අපි ඉස්සරහට ඔය වගේ ගොඩක් හම්බ වෙනවා because we are just starting animal form නේ, right? So and then depending on the type of cartilage, for example, there's fibrocartilage. In this diagram, it's not that clear, right? This middle diagram, you can see, I have given several locations. Can you see in the external ear there is cartilage, in the nose, in your ribs, costal cartilage, in your rib cage. Then pubic symphysis pelvis here. Okay. Then in your knees. Cushion, right? That is cartilage, right? Elastic cartilage mainly. And among your joints, among your knees, the cartilage yeah, tire yes, cartilage wears out with time. Okay, in old people, cartilage wears out with time. Okay, so chondrocytes are the sort of the cartilage cells. So what is the other function of chondrocyte? Yeah, depending on the type of cartilage, you can have more or less collagen. Then if you are, it's a elastic cartilage now, you have a lot of elastic fibers. If it's a fibrocartilage now, you have a lot of collagen, right? So depending on the type of cartilage and the location, chondrocytes secrete collagen as well. Okay. What are the example locations? I'll show you these. Okay. Trachea, intervertebral discs. Intervertebral disc තියෙන්නේ කොහෙද? Back. Disc prolapse කියලා අහලා තියෙනවා. Disc එක ගිහිල්ලා කියලා disc පයින්නවා කියලා කියනවා. When you are in weightlifting, you might have heard. Yeah. In your spine, I'll show you in the vertebral column, among each vertebrae the bone ගෑවෙන්නේ නැහැ. In your body never there is bone contact. මොකද වෙන්නේ bone ගෑවුනොත්? There is friction and wear out. Bone ගෑවුනොත් වෙන case. දැන් engine එකක උනත් you never allow metal parts to come in contact with each other. What is going to happen? Wearing out. Wear out උනොත් ඉවරයි. ආයි දාන්න, right? In your engine you can replace. In your body can you replace? No. So in your body never bones are allowed to contact. Either there is cartilage, there is a fluid or something is there. Okay. So in your vertebral column, none of the vertebrae, kondu atta, they are not in contact. They are in between those, there is a cushion among the among the vertebrae. They have two functions. When you are sort of bearing weight, they act as a sort of a shock absorber, and also they prevent bone contact. Got it? In the trachea you have some cartilage rings. Your trachea should be always open. It's your windpipe. It should be always open. Never, if it collapses, it's a problem. So it is held open by some cartilage rings. It's given in this diagram. Can you see in the neck there are some red color fibrocartilage. Then we ratu paadin thiyenne fibrocartilage in this diagram. They are the toughest cartilage. Among the intervertebral discs are fibro. Okay. Elastic cartilage thamai ape sophomore, ear and nose. Okay. Nose can be a bit of hyaline as well, mainly ears. Got it? Hyaline cartilage is like our kokatatta cartilage. Strength is there, flexibility is there, right? Found in many places. Got it? Okay. So if you want, you can write this, but it's all given in the resource. Matrix is chondroitin sulfate, which is secreted by chondrocytes. Chondrocytes also secrete collagen, right? Chondroitin sulfate it's a mix. It's a, you can say it's a protein plus carbohydrate mix එකක්, right? Protein carbohydrate mix. Okay. Cartilage. Okay. Clear about cartilage? Finally, bone. Finally, we have to talk about bone. So I'll show you some microscopic slides and you have to identify them as well. Right? Podi spot test එකක් ඔයගොත් කරමු. If you can identify different epithelia. Okay? Podi එහෙම එකකුත් කරමු. Right? Okay, ටක් ගාලා අපි bones ඉවර කරලා ඉමු. Bone tissue nothing much. Hari, okay. Bone. Again, it's a very specialized, very differentiated type of connective tissue. We are going towards a what? A solid matrix. Okay, we are going towards a solid matrix. So it's like the very opposite of blood tissue. Neither blood, you had a completely liquid matrix, and when it comes to the bone, you are going to have a completely solid matrix. So I'll write it somewhere here. Okay, bone tissue. So that's why there's a small sort of a something bit inaccurate, but I'm going to ignore that. Let's read. It's a mineralized connective tissue. Highlight mineralized connective tissue. Matrix has collagen fibers and inorganic salts. Okay. Bone. Bone එකේ matrix එක has some collagen. Okay, when the bone is living, it has some collagen and mineralized salts, inorganic salts. Inorganic salt. Inorganic salts are there. Okay. Then what are the inorganic components? You have calcium, magnesium and phosphate. These are very important. Inorganic salts are calcium, magnesium and PO4 minus. PO4 minus phosphate. Yeah, phosphate. Cells are two types. There are two types of cells. This is the accurate one. Okay. So this, let's read this. Osteoblasts, which are bone forming cells, osteocytes, mature bone cells, then maintain bone tissue. Then if you take bone, it's like it's like a society, right? It's like a bone is like a community. There are old retired bone cells, then there are young working bone cells. In a society, there are retired people who imagine there are retired doctors, then there are currently working doctors. So the retired people, they are the sort of the maintaining the community. They are the doctor community. Okay. Then who are working in the community? The young people. Yeah, the people who are still working, young. So your osteoblasts, you have to compare, okay? Osteoblasts and cytes. Osteocytes. Osteoblasts and cytes compare. Osteoblasts are the bone forming young cells. They are young. Okay? They are young. Bone forming. Okay? Osteocytes are mature. Right? I'll erase this. Okay? Osteocytes are mature. They are bone maintaining. Then someone has to maintain it. They are not working, they are retired, but they are part of the community. Bone maintaining. Bone maintaining. Okay. Osteocytes are enclosed within lacunae. So go to the next page. Hi. Okay. I'll show you all this. Right. If you take one of our bones, right? If you take a human bone, I always have a sort of a bag bone, right? If you take a long bone like this, in your body there are two types of bones. There are flat bones and long bones. Right? These are long bone. So sort of your limb bones are long bones. Okay? Humerus, radius ulna, femur, tibia, long bones. Then there are bones called flat bones. Flat bones, superior term flat එකක් තියෙනවා මෙතන. Yeah. Then what else? Your ribs are flat. Skull bones are flat. Pelvic bones are flat. Flat bones. Okay. Then your scapula, shoulder blades, they are flat. So, I mean, in those flat bones, we don't exactly study the structure of the flat bones because they are not that strong. When megala thamai strong. Okay. In this sort of a long bone, you have the two ends, no? Ends dekha thiyena. In those two ends, the bone is not that strong because it is composed of a type of bone called spongy bone. Spongy. Right? So, අර දැන් chicken කනකොට එහෙම දැන් chicken leg එකක් අහුනොත් chicken leg එකේ දෙපැත්ත කන්න පුළුවන් නේද? නෑ කපලා කන්න පුළුවන් නේ. try කරලා chicken leg එකේ edges දෙක කපලා කන්න පුළුවන් නේද? but මැදින් හපන්න නැතුව මොකද වෙන්නේ? that ටික කඩලා යනවා නේ. මේ මෙන්න මේ මැද හපන්න නැතුව chicken leg එකේ very strong no? Because the sort of the shaft අපි මේකට කියනවා bone එකේ shaft එක කියලා center එකට. This shaft is composed of something called as hard bone. The ends are composed of something called soft bone. So spongy bone. Spongy bone and hard bone. Okay. Hard bone is very strong. That's why if you take like a mechanics theory වලින් ගත්තොත් මේ මැදටනේ ගොඩක්ම tension එක එන්නේ. Forces are acting on the center. No? මෙහෙමනේ නිකන් අර tensile bend වෙන්න try කරන්නේ මැදින්. So the center has to be very strong. There is evolution. Okay. So that's what we are talking about here. ඔන්න ඔය mammalian hard bone එක ගැන තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. Mammalian hard bone. Okay. So if you take your mammalian hard bone, very interesting. Right? Now we have to erase කරනවා. Mammalian hard bone is composed of circular units. Circular units. Okay. Right? Circular units. Can you see? I think this page. දැන් ඔය තියෙන bone එකක් තියෙනවා. bone එකේ පේනවනේ මැදින් අරන් තියෙන. I have zoomed in. You can see circular units. නේද? Can you see? මෙහෙම concentric units are there. Okay. Then there are homo units that are everywhere in the bone. Okay. Got it? ඒකට මොකක්ද කියන්නේ? Those individual components of a hard bone is called an osteon. Osteon එකක් කියනවා. One single such unit is called an osteon. Okay? Osteon එක. These are individual osteons. හරිද? දැන් අපි let's zoom into an osteon. So that's what they have done. Can you see? They are zooming into an osteon. When you zoom into an osteon, there's something interesting. Okay? මේක තව ටිකක් තඩියට ඇන්දොත් මෙහෙම. Right? So there are more rings to the outside. Okay? There are more rings to the outside. Okay? So this is an osteon. In this osteon, your bone is supplied with blood. When you are living, your bones has a very good blood supply because at the center there's a central canal. Okay, එම central canal එකක් තියෙනවා. That central canal, through that central canal there's blood vessels, arteries and veins යනවා. Okay, there's arteries and veins going through this central canal, and there's a nerve source, nerve supply එකකුත් තියෙනවා. Got it? There's a nerve supply as well. So this is called what? The central canal. Okay. Then these are layers of mineralized material. Calcium, phosphate, වලින් හැදිලා තියෙනවා. These layers are mineralized material. In these rings, you can see there are rings, no? Memory are rings වගේ. In these rings there are මෙහෙම rooms වගේ තියෙනවා. Rooms. Right? It's like a community එකක් වගේ, right? මේ මං කිව්වේ it's like a community නිකන් අර like a sort of a unit where it's a bone is a living tissue, so it's like a sort of a community. So in these rooms නැත්නම් ගෙවල් කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක් හරි, right? There are කවුද ඉන්නේ? Osteocytes. Bone cells are living in these rooms. Okay. Bone cells are living in, after they have retired, they will retire vela. Sort of they are living in these spaces in the bone tissue. These rooms or these houses for the bone cells are called lacunae. Okay, lacunae. Lacunae. Okay. ඒගොල්ලෝ retire වුණාම ඒගොල්ලන්ට ලැකුණ එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා පාඩුවේ ඉන්න තික්. Got it? They are maintaining the bone tissue. Got it? They are the maintenance of the bone tissue. පේනවනේ they are sort of in the tissue itself, right? So what else? I have given they have labeled lacuna, right? Lacuna label kalla naha, but I'll show you with yeah, there's a lacuna containing osteocytes කියලා චුට්ටක්. It's a bit blurry, no? පේනවද? The central diagram, lacuna containing osteocytes. මේ ඕගලන්ට yeah, osteocytes are enclosed within the lacuna. Okay? So there's a central canal. Abhi make a label karu. This is a central canal. Central canal is there, which contains arteries, veins, and nerves. This is a lacuna with osteocytes. Lacuna with osteocytes. So this is a osteon. This is a osteon. Okay, I'll erase this. Okay, so this is how mammalian hard bone. Api දැන් mammalian විතරයි කතා කරන්නේ because of course this is the sort of the most complicated form, mammalian sort of physiology and anatomy, right? So this is how hard bone is composed of. They have these individual osteons that have this sort of structure. These rings are called as lamellae. The bones may individual, they may rings. These are rings. These are called lamellae. Lamellae. Okay. Lamellae. Okay. Central canal, lacuna with osteocytes, lamellae. Something additional, I mean, නිකන් ජොලියට කියන්න මෙහෙම තව එකෙක් ඉන්නවා මේ වැඩක් නැති එකේ osteoclast කියලා හරි. Okay, then if you take the doctor community, there are doctors that are harming the community, that are destroying the reputation of the community. These are bone destroying cells, osteoclasts. Are bone destroying cells. Oh, right, bone destroying. අවිවර කියනවා bone reabsorption. මෙහෙමයි. If you take bone tissue, bone is a tissue that is constantly being remodeled. අපි කියනවා remodeling. Always the bone is changing. Okay? That's because you are growing taller, your bones are growing in different ways. You can become stronger, right, with time depending on the calcium availability and not. Your bones should be sort of dynamic because one of the main functions of bone is what? Other than support, what is the other function? Stores calcium. 99% of calcium in your body is found in the skeleton, bone tissue. Okay, but you need calcium for other things as well, such as what? Nerve conduction, muscle contraction, or calcium only. Got it? So when your intake of calcium is not enough, what is your body going to do? It's going to take it from the skeleton. Okay, it's going to take it from the skeleton because there's no option. එතකොට එයා කාටද කතා කරන්නේ? There are hormones called parathyroid hormone or when මෙයාට එන්න කියනවා. He's the bone breaker, bone destroyer. එයා ගිහලා මොකද කරන්නේ? He is going to absorb, he is going to break down these bone cells and sort of these osteons and take calcium from the bone. Okay, osteoclasts. right? That only happens in අපි කියනවා ඒක නිකන් pathological condition එකක් when you are not having enough calcium in your body. From the bones you are going to take calcium. Other way that can happen is, so that is natural dietary calcium deficiency එකක් තියෙනවා නේද? දැන් ඊළඟට after 50 females menopause මොකද osteoporosis හැදෙනවා නේ, osteoporosis aniline බොන්න කියන්නේ. Yeah, right. That is because after their menopause they have some hormone problems. Because of that also their osteoclasts are going to become activated, bone reabsorption is going to be increased, their bones are going to become weak. Okay, that is something related to condition of osteoporosis. Calcium කොච්චර කෑවත් සමහරවිට osteoporosis එනවම තමයි. Okay, got it? So those are the things you need to know, right? Let's write some notes. Right? Whether we learn bone tissue. Medically, matrix, collagen, and inorganic salts. What are the inorganic salts? Calcium, magnesium, phosphate. What are the cells? Osteoblasts, osteocytes, and osteoclasts to liyagan. Right? Osteoblasts are the young bone forming cells. Osteocytes are the mature bone maintaining cells. Then, I have given this diagram exactly in the tute. If it's not clear enough, you can draw it. Central canal with the blood vessels, lacunae with osteocytes, Okay, right. Clear? You don't need to, I mean, you don't need to be able to draw a mammalian hard bone on your own, but you need to be able to describe. There are repeating units called osteons. Okay, osteons are composed of concentric mineralized circles called lamellae. Lamellae have small cavities called lacunae. Inside lacunae you find osteocytes. Inside each osteon you have a central canal. Central canal supplies blood and nerve supply to the bone. Got it? Okay, so now we are moving to the question session. I'll Before that, let's try to okay, all right. Okay, all right. So for online people, I'll screen share, right? We'll go through some slides and then do some questions. Okay. Right. So if I show you this bone structure, then fresh pita thiyena right? Right, mammalian. Okay, right. If you take the brightness anyway, okay, online people you can see, right? So if you take a mammalian hard bone, a long bone like this, right? You can see on the edges, ends okay, you can see it's very porous, it has cavities. That is because it is composed of our spongy bone, right? Spongy bone එක තමයි chicken bone එකේ හපලා ගන්න පුළුවන් part එක. It's not that strong. Okay? So when you come to the center, you have compact bone, or what we call as in the shaft, we have your hard bone. Okay, then matter your yellow bone marrow. Then if you come to this end also, you can see it's a lot of spongy bone. At the center, you are going to have hard bone, which is the structure that we are discussing mainly today. If you zoom into that, now this is a magnified view of that hard bone. What are these individual bolus concentric? Yeah, osteons, osteons. Osteons, yeah, right? Osteons, right? So these are individual osteons. What are they composed of? What are the concentric mineralized rings? Lamellae. Lamellae. You can see they are the lamellae. Then if you you can see what is this? This is the central canal. The central canal. Haversian canal. Right? Central canal has, you can see with our zoom, there's a vein, an artery, and a nerve. Right? Then if we bit zoom out, these are the osteocytes like rooms. Those are called what? Lacunae. Lacunae. Right? The osteocyte gathering them pain, right? These are the lacunae. Right? You can see they are the places where osteocytes are maintaining the bone tissue. Okay? Maintaining the bone tissue. Randomly osteoblasts and osteoclasts are there. They are not indicated here. Right? So this is what a mammalian hard bone is like. Simple. Yeah? Repeating units called osteocytes. They are composed of concentric mineralized material called lamellae, right? Then lamellae have lacunae where osteocytes are there. At the center, there is a central canal with a blood supply and nerve supply. Okay. Right. So if I show you some more, if you go to something like an alveolus, right? Alveoli, what is the epithelium found in alveoli? What is the epithelium in alveoli? Simple squamous. Simple squamous epithelium. You can see the alveolar epithelium is very, very thin. Plate-like cells. Plate-like simple squamous cells. Right? That is because you can see this is the blood vessel. Between that blood vessel and the air inside, the megathul air, there has to, what has to happen? Simple diffusion has to happen. Simple diffusion when thin. The distance it has to travel has to be thin. Sorry, short. Right? Therefore, you have to have thin leaky epithelium. Simple squamous. Got it? So, there are thousands and thousands of alveoli in your lungs. That's how you have enough gas absorption. Got it? If you zoom into an alveolus even further, you can see on, right? If you remove this, these are the, can you see typical simple squamous cells, central nucleus, yeah? Can you see? Typical, there's a liquid coating, right? You don't need that, right? So you can see typical simple squamous cells, yeah? That's the internal structure of an alveolus. What else can I show you? We don't have time to discuss the muscle and the nerves today. So that's going to be for next week, right? Okay, right. Then few things I want to show you, some microscopy slides. That kind of answer. right? I'll show you a better one. These are what? This is probably a cheek cell microscopy එකක්, right? කර cheek එකෙන් scrape කරලා ගත්ත එකක් under the microscope. What can these be? Plate like cells. පේනව නේද? Plate like cells that are very thin, simple squamous. Okay? Simple squamous. තේරුණාද? Right. මේක ඇවිල්ලා this is thyroid gland. Thyroid gland එකේ මැද මේ පිරලා තින්නේ, these are sort of the red sort of globules are the thyroid hormones. What we need is the wall. මේ පේනවද? The walls. So that is the at the center, that is thyroid hormones. ටැංකිය පුරවලා තින්නේ thyroid hormones. Those are sort of thyroid follicles කියලා කියන්නේ. In the wall of the thyroid follicle, what do you see? Nothing. Simple cuboidal. පේනවනේ? ටිකක් boxy, not exactly visible, right? On the wall of these thyroid follicles, you can see what? Cuboidal cells, simple cuboidal cells. This is a bit confusing. This is a sort of an intestinal lining, right? So පොඩක් destroy වෙලා තියෙන when you are preparing the slide. They say it's a simple columnar. Now this is better. පේනවනේ the long cells, කණු වගේ දිග cells, columns නේ, columnar. Yeah, simple columnar epithelium. Got it? Okay, online people at a pain or hold on. Can you see? This is simple columnar epithelium killer. You can see, right? Online people, give me a response. Can you see? Yeah. Okay. Right. Moving on. This is what? What are these? What are these? මොනවද පේන්නේ? Nuclei at different levels. What are mama balla inna? What is the type of epithelium? Yeah, ඒකේ there is a transitional ඒකේ. හරි. Question 5. Yeah. Make. What can you see? Nuclei at different levels, and at the top you can see a bit of cilia as well. No? Cilia layer එකක් තියෙනවා. That is a pseudostratified epithelium. Yeah, pseudostratified epithelium. You can see මේ පේනවද? Nuclei at different levels. Then මෙතන there's nuclei at this level also. Then at the lower levels also you can see nuclei. Ne? That is pseudostratified. Okay. Force transitional ඒක ඔයගලන්ට ඕනේ transitional epithelium. What is this? මම මේක exact diagram. Online people send me. What is this? Full answer එක ඕනේ. What is this epithelium? මොකද්ද මේ wave like layer එකක් තියෙන්නේ? That is keratin. So then this is what? You can see multiple cell layers. යාටනේ? Multiple layers of cells. මේ පේනවනේ this layer. This is connective tissue. මේ ටික connective tissue. මෙන්න මේක මේ sort of pink. Yeah. Keratinized, stratified, squamous. All right. I think we won't have time to do questions. Next week warm up එකක් විදිහට questions කරලා පාඩම් කරලා ඉන්න. Okay. Right. අපි තව slides ටිකක් බලලා. Yeah, it is stratified squamous, keratinized. Who is this? I think adipose no pseudostratified columnar කෙනෙක් එයා ඕනේ. Who is this? Yeah, this is also skin. This is also skin. These photos are taken from the microscope using the phone camera. Microscope lens eකට phone එක තියලා ගන්න. හරිද? So there are quality issues. So this is also skin. You can see the keratin layer. These are hair follicles. Hair. Skin hair. Right? Hair follicles. These are not nuclei. These are not nuclei. These are much bigger. Much bigger. Right? This is the keratin layer. This is the squamous epithelium stratified. This is skin. Sorry, the hair follicles. So this is the epidermis. This is the dermis. Dermis you can see the hair. Okay. Abi skin killer there's a separate venom lesson in your, I think in the 2026 revision we are doing it. Right. So we'll study about the skin in detail. Yeah, you can see there's keratinization, there's hair follicles. Large circle and this is skin. What is this? Yeah, that's it. Right. Then some things, right? If you take this cross section, this is a leg, right? This is a leg cross section, right? The make you can see most of the connective tissues. What are the connective tissues you can see? Outermost skin you can see. Underneath the skin, what is the yellow color? Yeah, what is the yellow color? What is the yellow color? Okay. Adipose, fat, yellow color fat. Then what is this? I told you this is a thigh. Thigh. Slice color. What is that? Femur. Femur is cut color. Right? Femur has been cut. Right? And what are these? When I'm brown, there's been some bleeding here. Right? Bleeding. What are these all? These are muscles. Right? Thigh muscles. Muscle tissue. Okay. So you can see the amount of fat. This is what I wanted to show you. This is the heart. Okay. Heart, what can you see? It is covered with the yellow layer. No? The heart is not supposed to be like that. That is what we call as the visceral fat. Right? With obesity, what you are going to get is fat is going to deposit around these internal organs. So the heart cannot contract and expand properly. How do you expand because it is restricted by the fat. Right? So that is visceral fat. And you can see in this body, the skin like a thick how thick the skin is. That is the subcutaneous fat under the skin. So if you go to medical faculty, if you get this sort of a body, it's a bit unlucky. Body fat pain structures. It's very difficult to identify structures when you have a lot of body fat. Body fat okay. So the dissection starts at around 1. Right? We have to, because on the other day the professor says, sorry, my body came class because clean because you have to sort of uncover the structures, right? Nerves and blood vessels. You have to clean the fat very carefully to uncover the structures. Okay. What else? Here also you can see these are muscles, right? You can see this is you can see how thick the body fat layer is. The thickness of the body fat layer. Yeah. Got it? Okay. Right. So anything more I can show you? Yeah. This is another real microscopic slide. What is this? What is this? What is this? There's a fat globule in the center. Yeah, in the center of the cells. What is this? Adipose. One of the easiest to identify. Adipose tissue. Yeah. This is areola. This is areola connective tissue. You can see loose connective tissue. It has fibers. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing much significant about it. All the cells and all the fibers are found in it. It's sort of a nool again, nothing dense about it. Okay, it's loose. Okay, that's why we call it the loose connective tissue. අපි එහෙමයි මතක තියාගන්න. ඔක්කොම නූල් තියෙනවා නම් it is the loose connective tissue. These are muscle types. Okay, muscles we'll do next week. Uh, this is cartilage, right? Cartilage also, they have, you know, osteocytes. No, osteocytes are there, and the cartilage chondroitin sulfate is there. This is cartilage, and this is what? This is bone, right? Bone, you can see at the, I mean, it's not very clear because are dye එකෙන් full pink color වෙලා, right? It's not that clear. This is also a cartilage found between two bones, right? This is the cartilage layer. Okay, arrow එක දාලා තියෙන්නේ. මේක නම් nerve එකක්, right? ඒවා ඕනේ. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Right. අපි question එකක් දෙයක් කරනවාද? Maybe next week, no? Next week කරමු. Yeah? Next week. Okay. Yeah, මේකත් නිකන් ජොලියට කියන්න. This is a new, not new. It's a sort of a 3D technology of CT, right? We got this patient to the accident service, right? මොකක් වෙලා කියලා හිතන්න. What is the cause? Can you see some damage? No, මෙතන මූණ කුඩු වෙලා නැති. පේනවනේ? Yeah? What has happened there? මොකද cause එක? Motorcycle accident, right? Helmet එක, right? It's a half face helmet, right? So the visor එක කොහොම කඩලා ගිහලා මූණ ගිහලා ලොරි එක වැදිලා, right? Okay, so you can see this upper jaw bone fractured, nose fractured, this forehead fractured, the eye sockets are fractured, right? So it's a new technology. It's not that new. You can reconstruct it in 3D using several hundred X-rays, right? The CT killer can it's several hundred X-rays, no? Right? You can get a 3D view like this CT. So you can reconstruct it in this way so that the surgeons, plastic surgeons, can have a clear idea. Okay. What's the main risk then? Right? What is the immediate risk to this person? Because of all the blood from the damaged structures, blood can go into the lungs. They can inhale blood. Yeah? Asphyxiate, they can suffocate on their own blood and die. Right? Blood, he can suffocate. Yeah? So that is the main risk. So immediately you have to intubate, you have to give them oxygen, right? Through tubes. Otherwise they are going to sort of inhale their own blood, and then there are other problems. I think like sort of the shock is there and blood loss is there. Okay, that's it. Next week අපි warm up එක විදියට we'll right, we'll start with the question session. So study and come, either study connective tissues, study epithelial tissues, and come. Okay. Okay, right. Online people, any questions? Online people, any questions? All right. So I hope the people who got bored at the middle, they will watch the recording, right? And so there's going to be a new tune, and right. So this Friday paper class එක තියෙනවා, right? Paper discussion. We have to discuss paper 3 part 2 ne? No? You didn't join the last class? Why? Right? The recording is in the group ne? Right? People who are joining the paper class, paper 3 part 2 this Friday. Who didn't get the paper? Monday තමයි දැනට okay කිව්වේ, right? I'll have to ask either Monday or Tuesday කියලා තමයි කිව්වේ. Tuesday is okay. I'll see. Okay, I discussed about it. You can go home and write the paper, right? I'll distribute the paper on every Sunday, right? You can go home and time yourself and write the paper. That's the other solution. And but you have to come and give it before Wednesday to be marked, okay? Because the discussion is on Friday. Before Wednesday, you have to give the paper to the office to be marked, okay? Yeah. Okay නේ paper එක හම්බෙච්ච නැති කවුරු හරි පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න මම දෙන්නම් paper එක. Okay. This can go. Hello people, any questions? Okay, all good. Okay, then thank you for joining. You can, I mean, මෙහි නලියන්නද? ඔයාලා කිව්වේ කියන්නේ ෂුවර් නෑ කිව්වද? හෝල් එකක් Tuesday available නෑ කියලා කිව්වා. උදේත් පුළුවන්. උදේ තමයි best classes අඩුයිනේ උදේ.